What does that mean?
What are you talking about?
What'd you put in the chat?
I don't even know you. Yeah, this is crazy. So, CO, listen. All I'm saying is this, right? I don't deal with this whole people complain. I don't deal with this whole weird people complaining about shit that they can fix for themselves, right? Or I don't complain about things that I can't change, right? Things happen, right? Okay, 500 years. Well, guess what? If you look before the United States was here, you had the French and the Spaniards and the Portuguese, right? Why aren't they in the conversation? Because they're the ones that actually started everything that's here on the West, not the United States. But that's not being discussed,
it's
right?
relative. I have property. Most of the names are American names on all the streets, the signs, the community. So I think there's a mixture of cultures in terms of what started the United States. That's a whole story, but let me just.
Yeah, I know that, but it's like if you go through the timeline, right? What does the timeline say? Right? I'm not worried about the streets and the signs and deja vu, even though that's French, but we use it like on every other day in America, right? I'm talking about where it all started from, right? Because if we want to start in say 500 years, right, we got to look further, right? Right? I mean, that's all I'm saying. That's literally all I'm saying.
It's a big conversation that we're having. So we can look at 500 years, we can look at 5,000, we can look at 50,000. We can talk about the original people in America, in the Americas. We can talk about all kinds of things. Historically, we're just programmed to discuss what we discuss. That's why the conversation is about where did you learn it. My answer to the question, we learn it every goddamn word, from the books to the home. Our parents don't even know how to unpack half this shit. So if we're ever to get past it, and just like Mojo said, he don't have all these conversations. I don't either. I rock with all colors of people. I don't have these conversations everywhere, but they have them on Clubhouse. I participated in a couple of them. But at the end of the day, if you guys want to Google Jane Elliott, she has the Blue Eyes, Brown Eyes Project. Of course, nobody that doesn't have to have this conversation wouldn't want to have this conversation. Some of the people who are more vested in it are the people who care about the issues, just like any other political or cultural issue that happens. People talk about the shit that matters to their culture. I've never been raped, you know what I'm saying? But there's women that have been endured a domestic abuse that have these conversations because they or somebody in their environment has been affected. I can't say, let's stop talking about domestic abuse. Let's have a great day. No, to a woman that's impacted, that matters. So people talk about the shit that matters to them. Let me just say this really quick and I'll land. Who benefits from all this divisiveness? Let's talk about that part. And the sidebar, Trump complains about America all day, every day. I'm so sick of him whining and complaining about what Joe did and what Barack did and what this president didn't do and what all these other people didn't do. So he's the complainer in chief all the goddamn time, but that's a whole other story. But who benefits from the divisiveness, right? Who benefited from the Indians against each other, the Cherokees in the Creek? You know what I'm saying? The Algonquins and the Comanches. Who benefited from that, right? America did. That's the only reason they were able to take over the country, because they pitted this Indian group against that American group. Black people, light skin against dark skin. Who benefited from that? Slave owners. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is, in this world that we're living in right now today, people are benefiting from exacerbating the Civil War fault line, pitting white people against black people, blue lives against black lives. You know what I'm saying? To me, this is about leftists. We used to have a thing politically where people at least worked on bipartisan stuff as a North Star. Even if we didn't get it done, there was an ambition and an aspiration from it. Now it's the demonization of parties. So there are people who actually politically benefit from dividing and fragmenting Americans. And it's not just black people that's sitting up here making this stuff up. There's some people, even black people are, arguing against Caribbean, talking about who's foundational and who's here and there. People who are in position to gain power always benefit from that fragmented electorate. So let's talk about the beneficiaries that are exploiting people for their own political and profit, the political gain and profit gain. That's the problem.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, CO. And I'm all for that discussion too, because I see it all day. That's why I don't buy into it. I'm just curious as hoping that people more more people actually see that and stop buying into it and actually work together. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, if there is a World War III, this conversation is done with, right? I'm all for going to war again at this point. You know why? Because I know we'll all come together as Americans and we'll stop these conversations.
Welcome to America today.
He's willing to go fight World War III so we can stop talking about racial identity
I
politics.
kind of slightly disagree with the statement that someone said earlier that we aren't having these conversations in public. I feel like we're having them ad nauseum, and to CEO's point, I'm not sure it's actually helping. I think my generation and the generation before me were kind of damned. You know, I mean, they tried really, really hard to kind of inject the cultural, awareness into everybody. But I think, like someone said, it's kind of backfired slightly. I have a young kid, and I'll tell you two things. I want a diverse classroom, 1,000%. I also don't want that diverse classroom to be spending every 5 minutes talking about how each of those kids are different. I think the way we get over this is to have absolutely diversity. But in my experience, watching my young daughter, if you just put them in a classroom of diverse kids, they don't know the history of every single one. They don't know how the blacks were, unfortunately enslaved. They're about the Jewish history, the Holocaust. They're about the Japanese. All they know is they walk up to the first kid they see, they say hi, they shake hands, and they're friends for the next year. And to me, that's the way that we make this thing work, is we just, instead of highlighting the differences from the age of 3, we just let them walk in, figure out that they're cool people, and just make the diversity normal without having to stress over and over and over again. Like if my 8-year-old daughter meets someone who's Japanese, I don't want to say, there's a better than zero chance that her grandparents were an internment camp during World War II. That's not necessary for them to know. All they need to know is, this kid's Japanese, I think she's great. Let's play Legos together. And I think as long as we normalize the diversity and not hyper stress on the history, I actually think that gives the next generation hope. I feel like our generation and the generation before us, the generation before that, were squabbling all the time, and it's always a big fight about who had the worst experience. And the reality is lots of people had bad experiences, and I think the key is just to move on from it. That's my thought. Keep the diversity, but don't keep the harping on it. Just make it naturally, meld together in time with the latest generations, and run our generation off because we're screwed. That's my thought anyway.
Oh man, this every time you hear this from a white person, I'm just like roll my eyes because I'm like, I don't know if you're in the U.S., but we have direct correlations to health disparities in this country based on racial skin tones because inequalities have not been addressed, right? You can't just gloss over the fact that we have problems in society because I'm conveniently white and that my group doesn't have those problems. That's not how we move forward as a society.
Let me clarify. I'm Jewish. I'm not just white.
You fall into the white category. I don't care if you're Jewish.
Dude, I'm subjected to all this stuff too, and I still don't want everyone to know about the Holocaust. I don't need my kid's best friend who happens to be black to know that her grandparent died in the Holocaust. It's not relevant. So this isn't just I'm a white dude thing. I'm part of an oppressed group as well. But I don't see how it benefits my kid to make sure all of her friends.
It does not help society to have one group consistently behind based on things that they have no control of. I think it's ridiculous. Go ahead, man.
Second back, if I could. Hey, Mark and Mother, for what it was worth, the intersection between both of your idealism and my humble opinion is both of you are saying something. You're saying that the way we address whatever diversity is supposed to be, however we address culturally, working together in the future, it has to be redefined and done properly. Both of you are saying that. So we're to Mojo's point, we're not going to get that shit right today. But what we know is the way that we've been doing it, between conversations that are here or whatever, there is a pathway. There is a way to do this. I think it's implicit bias, grade level certifications that are mutual, that doesn't just deal with here's slavery, here's the Holocaust, blah, 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 these things bad, blah, blah, blah. I think there's a strategic way that nobody's yet implemented that we can help our children learn how to dispense with their biases in a more fruitful way and a more intelligent way. That's the baseline. Whatever that thing is that's X, we can define it. We just haven't done a proper job, so we're all on bullshit. Every adult, every human that has the capacity to do it, everybody black and white that's complaining about the shit, we're just saying that we haven't done it right. And that is a freaking fact.
I agree with you. Like I said just a second ago, I feel like our generation and the generation before us is screwed. And so whatever we've been trying so far hasn't been working. I think get the first school group together, but without hopping on it, which is what we have been doing, is a different tactic. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But I think what we're doing now is not working. I agree with you.
And I'm gonna see the Florida King, the smart guy.
Wait, did his wife want to go? The young lady, she was trying to go.
I'm gonna let Black Girl, please let you go. I just want to say this before I tip out in a minute, or for whatever it's worth. Hey, Black Girl, you know what? Let me respect the woman. King would probably suggest that be done. Let me let you speak, Black Girl. Please go ahead and say what you were gonna say.
Yes, I wanted to ask Sarah what she meant by me being a victim. I can't stand when Asian people call black people victims. What do you mean I'm a victim?
No, why don't you just stop causing?
Why are you calling me a victim? My people are not victims, ma'am. We're survivors. What are you talking about? And then you made a comment in there about no reparations. Ma'am, I'm not even addressing you or talking to you. You started with me.
You're so obsessed with me that you're even like.
Oh, please, honey, no, don't go there. That's a downer.
This is what they mean. This is what they mean by saying, women shouldn't be on the stage. I kind of get it.
So are you trans, Sarah? Well, like, what do you identify? Are you not a woman?
I don't know. Do you identify as a woman?
I'm just wondering, because that comment
I'm wondering because your name is Mother, so I will call you she from now on. I'm sorry.
You can call me she, I don't care.
Okay.
Call me whatever you want.
You know what? I just don't hear enough of in this conversation ever is the acknowledgement that in-group preference exists. In-group preference could be related to a race. It could be related to a religion. It could be related to your own home, your own neighborhood. Sports fans have their own in-group preference. Try sitting in the wrong section of a Raider game with your Chiefs hat on. You'll find out about in-group preference real quick. It exists. The question is, how do you take in-group preference, acknowledge that it's a real thing, and then try to ease the worst of the consequences that come from it? Because we're not going to get rid of in-group preference. This is something we're wired with. And so I think what we need to learn is we need to figure out, okay, can we acknowledge what our in-group preferences are? And then just figure out how to not kill each other. I think if we were to do something that approached that, I think we'd be better off than just listing grievances.
Hey, Roger, the problem comes in when the government has an in-group preference. That's where the problem
I 100% agree with you. And this is why I am much more interested in ideas than I am with identity. If I'm trying to figure out, who would be likely to harm me or want to kill me, it's usually the ideas that they have and not their identity.
I think the voter, for whatever it's worth, I think you make a good point, and I'm a Cleveland Browns fan for whatever it's worth, man. You know what I'm saying? We get shit no matter what. No matter what color I am, we get it all over the place, for whatever. So I do agree with the concept of, humans are humans. We're a wretched species that just likes what we like, and there's nothing wrong with that. To me, that's why I hate when people say that I'm colorless, that race doesn't exist. If you can't see my big ass nose and my brown skin, then you already got a problem. I think we should recognize people for our diversity without alienating people for it, more in a celebratory way, and let people be a part of their tribe. And what I'm saying is, to that goal or that aspiration or that North Star, we just need a collective process. Somebody just need to sit down on a curriculum or some programming that we do it so we don't have to have these dumbass conversations 20 years from now. So I agree with you, but we got to all say that the thing is broken and we can fix it so we don't have to have these stupid conversations. I'll leave it there.
Well, I think it's easy for everybody else to say get over it when the Black Holocaust hasn't been paid for.
when you have Americans in this country that know the Black Holocaust happened and then call it handouts when it's really a debt that's owed to our ancestors. You understand what I'm saying? See, yeah, and that's not victim, that's a survivor. And we have to do it because my thing is this. My thing is this. If we're going to embrace being Americans, then you have to pay for the original Holocaust that happened in America. I'm not mad at money that went to Jewish survivors. I think it should go to them. I'll be honest with you. I think there's a lot of reparations owed to a lot of people here. But until we can face our history, how the hell do you stop talking about race? It's never going to happen.
Well, I was just going to say, I think everybody's bingo card is complete now. Anytime we go through the popular terms here, reparations is usually the final word on the bingo card. So congratulations, we've all got a bit.
We missed on regime change. Yeah, and to King's point, I mean, I get 100% what he's saying. The trouble is there's no definition of success. To follow up on reparations, for example, and I'm not saying that it's not justified either, but let's say reparations are finally given to the African American community, and good luck to them. The Japanese might just say, well, what about us? We're stuck in friggin' internment shit camps. This is bullshit. What about our shit? You know, I mean, there's to someone's point, there's been a lot of people who have been horribly affected. It doesn't mean you shouldn't make up for it, but I don't know how you're ever going to get to the point where you're like, okay, we have addressed this. I don't think there's literally I don't think there's an end to that. There's always going to be something or someone who is very legitimately aggrieved. You know, there's no finish line. We can address it a little bit. We're never going to be able to completely address it. So I don't know how that is going to make the conversation suddenly stop.
You do realize the Japanese from internment camps did get reparations.
I do realize that. But, you know, there's certainly people out there who can claim that, you know, they've been affected a couple generations down the line. Similarly, the way that, you know, people in the African American community very legitimately say, look, you know, we've been affected a couple generations down the line.
That's not the same argument. I mean, if they would have gave reparation to the slaves, then nobody down the line would be making that argument. Just like the Japanese got their reparations, so there's no way down the line some Japanese should be making that argument. So you trying to conflate some stuff that don't make any sense. But you can go off on yourself.
Well, we can agree to disagree, I suppose. But I think there's a lot.
No, you just wrong. You just flat wrong. Not disagreeing.
No, everything you said was facts, bro. I think the thing is, a lot of people on Clubhouse like to argue opinions and not facts. What Akima said was facts. Germany paying reparations to Holocaust survivors is facts, right? Obama earmarking money to Holocaust survivors is facts, right? Like
the Japanese getting reparations is fact, right? I'm with you, King.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Hold on. Let me respond to Akima though. Here's the difference, though, Akima, is that. And I don't want to get in a debate about reparations, but there is a difference in the fact that the internees themselves were given money. It wasn't people after the fact asking for the money. It was the internees themselves that got the money.
I agree.
And so you hold on, and I know that the response would be, yeah, well, that's why, you know, the people that were oppressed back in the day, they should have got it. The other thing is the dollar amount. It was $20,000. I have a feeling, I have a sneaky suspicion that if the government was to come forward and say, hey, if you can prove any ancestry, any lineage whatsoever to those that were enslaved or impacted in any way through Jim Crow laws, here's $20,000. I would bet that would open a bigger can of worms, and that because the dollar amount that I've seen people asking for was like something like $4 quadrillion or something like that, which is like $150 million per person, right? So I mean, if you're chasing down the Japanese model, again, you got to consider it was the actual internees, and they only got 20,000.
Hey, Roger, I think you mismarked what he said. What he said about black people.
I was responding to you. I'm not talking to Mark.
Right. No, I'm just saying. I'm telling you what messed up with your question, what you just said, though. Because I said everything you said. What he said was that black people talking about reparations. He's like, what the Japanese want reparations? Like they got it. I just cleared up that they got it. So by him saying that was false. Then by me responding to that about Japanese got there, then they're gonna say, well, some of them could still make the claim down the road that they didn't get that money. It's comparing it to black people, which don't make no sense. And we never got a dime from the get-go. Like he's conflating things, trying to make an argument that have no grounded in reality. He's like stretching the truth somewhere. When not to tell the truth, just flat out lying.
I'm not combative with you. I told you I think it's totally legit if they get reparations. I'm not saying they don't. I'm just trying to make the point that it's not.
Can I opt out of paying it?
I'm not even asking for reparations. I'm just going.
No, I'm asking Mark. Mark's saying he believes that that people should get it. I'm just asking, can I opt out of paying it?
Me too.
My
You gotta give your citizenship. You gotta give up your citizenship and opt out and move out the country.
No one's paying reparations.
Where do you want me to go? You want me to go to Liberia?
Go to Portugal.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Actually, take your white dollars and go to DR. You buy some product.
I don't like their food, respectfully.
So it's too rice heavy. You know, I also think like some people just don't like Latino food. I don't like too many Mexican food, to be honest. Tacos, I think tacos are overrated. The corn
I
tortilla.
think you're fucking overrated. Tacos are amazing.
Oh, there we go. Corn tortillas are nasty.
Oh, now you've fucking done it. Listen, I'm not even gonna respond. Doesn't even work. Not even.
For the record, I really wasn't trying to offend you. All I was trying to make the point of is that there's a lot of people in this country who have been aggrieved over the course of our history, unfortunately. And so I think the statement that we can't stop talking about this until it's been properly addressed, I think the word properly addressed is going to be a moving goalpost. And, you know, let's say tomorrow, and this is hypothetical, let's say tomorrow, to someone's point, they said, okay, every African American who can prove lineage of slavery in America gets 50 grand. Maybe there's a portion of African Americans that say, thank you, you've addressed it. But there's going to be another portion of Americans who say, that's bullshit, that's not nearly enough.
Yeah.
So it's not actually going to address it.
So let me respond to Alyssa in the chat. Alyssa says 20,000 in 18. What the hell is that noise? What the hell's going on? Okay, so Alyssa says in the chat that 20,000 in 1860 is equivalent to approximately 774,000. The problem is that $20,000 that was paid to the Japanese was paid in 1988. So what you would have to do is you would have to say you'd have to say to yourself, if we were to issue reparations now, what is $20,000 in 88 worth today?
And Roger, like this same person, Alisa, just 10 minutes ago in the chat, she was saying Holocaust is history. I mean, do we have slaves right now? Because we have Holocaust survivors. Like, I don't even understand, how can you say Holocaust is history, you know, when we still have Holocaust survivor, and then ask for reparation when we don't have any slave survivors? Like, this is like generations gone. But and then she says I'm racist for saying.
That's not true. There are some slave survivors. There are still there were slaves that were working all the way to 1960s, ma'am. Sit down.
Really? Hold on. Can somebody Black, can you please post your receipts in the chat for everyone to see that there were slaves in 1960?
I mean, there are people.
Go Google it.
There are people in forced labor today. What are we talking about that exists? Like,
They still got plantations. What are you talking about? Go Google it. You'll figure it out. I think what was the Whitney plantation was the last plantation.
Hello, can y'all hear me? Go on mute, JW.
Can you give us a list of the black survivors that are slave survivors?
Fuck you.
I don't understand. Why are you so into black people getting reparations? I thought you said you were from Iran.
You just claimed we have slave survivors. I said I want to see that list because there is no such a thing. You just made shit up.
What do you mean there's no such a thing? No, you're not even black, so sit down.
Show us. I don't have to be black. You guys are asking.
Then don't take on reparations. It doesn't affect you. It does not affect you.
Listen, well, it's my fucking money, right?
Stop fucking calling me a victim. You don't have no right to call me a victim. I'm not no motherfucking victim.
And you're claiming there are slave survivors, and I want to see a list of those slave survivors. When
Go
you
Google
have,
it.
you
Go
guys have
Google
the
it.
audacity to say Holocaust is history, but then you say we have slave survivors.
I never said that. I never said that, ma'am. I never said that.
If you have noise in background, please mute. It sounded like the flea market.
Okay, what about now? Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, so you guys been all over the place with this, and like a lot of times you can't really have a conversation. You can't even have an agreement. So let's just agree on this. And there was black people who were held in bondage in this country, okay, and that bondage ended in 1865 for some, and then a little later for the rest. But the things that happened between 1865 and 1965 were probably worse in some regards. So I know everybody wants to think that when slavery was over in 1865, that was the end of it. But that was actually the beginning. That's when the black codes and all of the state laws and all of the, when as commerce, grew, black people were locked out. But we had the Freedmen's Bank that was stolen from us. That money went to white men, and they speculated and lost all that Freedmen's Bank money. I know half of y'all don't even know what the fuck the Freedmen's Bank is, okay? And the Freedmen's Bureau, and all those things that were set forth to help black people become successful in the United States were taken away. And then you had the whole, running black people off of their lands in the South, and take, just make all this is history. I don't have to sit here and tell you. I know a lot of you don't know it, but this thing really happened. So when you sit there talking about reparations for slavery, hey, well, yeah, slavery stopped back then, but there's so much other shit that happened. And then let's just talk about the pure fact that, and white people should be ashamed of themselves. They can't read. They really should. They should be, they should be mocked and ridiculed. White people, if they can't read. But black people, hey, they actually made laws to make sure that we weren't able to read. And the penalty of reading, sometimes being able to read, was death. So, people here, I know you don't know it, most of you. I can just listen to your mouth and tell that you don't know shit. But I'm here to tell you that, there was another 100 years after that. Now, I've been through, from the 50s to now, I've seen a lot of changes. And a lot of things were getting better. But then, when Obama got elected, that is when white people lost their mind. It's just like the white people who didn't want disco music. I know y'all don't know the stories. I'm gonna tell it to you. So right around in the 70s, about 75 all the way to 90, 79 to 80, disco music was becoming very popular. If they were playing it on all the radio stations, it was taking over. All the rock people, all the rock and rollers were getting mad because disco was taking over. So what did they do? They had a white riot in Chicago at the ballpark to say that they burnt all the disco records. Okay, literally started a fucking riot to burn the damn.
Not the disco records.
This is
my
true
word.
shit. This is true shit. No, it just tells you how fucking petty.
We should get reparations for the disco
records.
records.
You how petty white people are, and you're petty too, because you can't even let me finish speaking, and I'm telling the truth.
We'll check up with every respect.
No.
You've been talking. No. Hang on for a second. No, hang on for a second. Hang on. With every respect, you have been talking for a long amount of time. Can I ask?
Hey, no.
I am being respectful. Believe it or not, I'm actually being respectful.
Hold on,
I know you're being
Ro,
respectful.
he's been moved. Listen,
Jesus
listen,
Christ.
Papa Smurf. If you want to fucking have a conversation, you're welcome to join it, but you're not gonna fucking hijack it. Just because you're 70 fucking years old and you feel that age makes you wiser, you didn't land a fucking single point. You went from race grievances into, let me tell you about disco in the 70s. We get it, you're fucking...
That was kind of mean.
I agree. It was fucking. It's very disrespectful to compare what black people had to go through to burning disco records. Papa Smurf's a fucking it.
How about him being old?
Hey, that's just a reality. You think he's young? Take a look at his fucking picture. Well, there we go. I like the silence that comes after, we get the lecture. Jesus Christ. Here he is again. Yeah, you know what? How about this? How about this? Hold on. Hold on. I'm gonna clear the stage and I'm gonna say, hey, check this out. Everyone stay on mute. No, hold the fuck on. I'm trying to get. Well, then I'm gonna just have to move you again.
Hold on, Jay. Hold on. Let him finish.
I'm trying to give you the space to speak, but you're so fucking stupid that you can't even fucking tell that that's happening. Turn up the fucking hearing aids, Grandpa. Get up here. I'll give you 90 seconds to say whatever you wanted to say about disco records.
You're so embarrassed because I'm telling the truth about white people. White people are fucking petty. That's the problem right there. They think they're superior to everyone on earth.
Racist.
That's the bottom line on this whole shit. And the story about the damn disco is just showing you how fucking petty they are over fucking music. They exercise their white privilege. And fucking shut disco down. It was gone. You don't hear that shit on the radio no more. That's what white people do. And that's what they're doing now. That's this Trumpism shit. That's what we're seeing. So fuck you, white boy.
Okay, so let me just translate that to those of you that don't speak Grandpa Smurf. He basically said that he's mad that disco went out of style. Sorry. Maybe we can bring it back. I want to apologize on behalf of white people everywhere. I apologize that we killed disco. If we bring disco back, that will improve race relations moving forward.
Okay, come on now. That's not funny at all. That's a little overboard.
I agree. I think going back into the history books and filing your grievance against white people over burning disco records was a little fucking weird.
You don't think it was a little bit too far?
I'm not going to go back and forth.
You don't think it was a little bit too far when he was saying all white people are this and we're to blame the white people for this? You don't think that was going too far at all?
Who are you asking? You asking me or who? I don't even know what the fuck you said.
Well, I don't know. Is there a problem with your hearing or is there a problem with my microphone? Please tell me.
No, I need you to repeat what you said. No, there's not a motherfucking problem with my hearing.
A
I think you're
motherfucking problem.
fine.
Okay, great. I'm glad you're dropping the F-bomb. Just like, I don't know, you're connected to Trump in some way, shape, or form. Yeah, it was a very simple question. Did you have a problem in any way, shape, or form?
I don't like the insult.
Well, you actually started off with going in that direction. So I'm sorry. If you don't like the heat, don't bring the heat. It's really simple.
I don't bring hate.
Did you? Okay.
I've been getting hated on the stage, been called a victim and all of that.
Hang on for a second. I'm asking you a question, a simple question. Okay, just respectfully. Did you have any problem whatsoever when he was racializing white people at all?
Not really, because he was talking about an experience in history. So no, not really. He was talking about a certain time.
Okay.
He wasn't talking about today. He was talking about a certain time and an experience. No, bitch, I'm not married to Grandpa Smurf. Whoever said that in the chat.
Hey, look.
Ignorant ass.
I forgot more than you people in this fucking room know. Okay? That's just the fucking truth. Now, whoever Rio is, you have something to say to me? Say it to me.
No, I'm too scared. Let me just go and cower in a corner. Do you mind? Wow, you're attacking my sexuality. You've known me for like 15 seconds, and
well, if you're a
faggot, I'm gay.
If you're a faggot, you'll shut up. But if you're not, you'll keep talking.
Wow. Jesus Christ.
See how that works?
Geez. Just so I can clarify, I don't intend to be able to shut up. I don't intend to have a conversation with you. Well, hold on real quick. I'm going to reset the room. JB, we got a little off track here. We had a special guest. Grandpa Smurf came to visit us, and we were talking. Surprise, about reparations. Somebody brought up reparations, so of course that becomes the theme of the room. If you keep talking while I'm talking, okay, listen. You're gonna understand. You cannot speak while I'm speaking. It just doesn't work that way. I'm resetting the room. I'm giving the information that JB missed, so he knows the proper context. So Grandpa Smurf comes in, and he wants to tell us about all of his wisdom because of he's lived so long and he's lived through all these things. And so that what he wanted to highlight to show and illustrate the pettiness of white people. And this is all before he called Roe a faggot. I thought that was interesting. But his big grievance, check this out. His big grievance was white people in the 70s burning disco records. You can't make this shit up. Like he didn't talk about Jim Crow. He didn't talk about slavery. What he said was white people have gone too far because in the 70s they burned disco records. This really happened.
Tonight at midnight due to unscheduled conflicts on Clubhouse. Stay on to help with the
I just didn't realize how attached to disco some people were. Look, guys, we can fucking make these records. They're digitized now. We can go listen to them if we'd like to. If you want to listen to disco, man, knock yourself out. Matter of fact, if we get Uncle Steve in here, we could just play a couple disco songs, a couple requests for Papa Smurf. Let's see. Hold up. Donna Harris says, Roger. I don't know who Roger is. The elder did indeed talk about all those things. We were in the room with y'all. Actually, no. What he did is he invoked how old he was as if that's evidence that he knows everything. I know plenty of old people that don't know shit. He's one of them. And when having an opportunity in this room to impart some wisdom, he decided to talk about disco. Disco records. Go ahead, JW. Talk about disco.
Be careful what you wish for.
No, I decided to make
For the most part, men are weak. Any man can be swayed by a single piece of paper. He thought he could keep their child those secrets, which was disgusting.
it's
Pretty busy, so I'll get right to the point. I'm resigning my post effective tonight at midnight.
How did you feel about disco night when the White Sox had it? They burned like 50,000 records.
when it was happening, I read about it in the paper, but it's the same thing as when they got mad at Jack Johnson, the great white host back in 1919, and the white people went crazy because they lost a boxing match. This is what I'm telling you. These people are petty. You're fucking petty.
Wait, JW, do you think that Jack Johnson got charged with the Mann Act because he beat up a white guy?
Hey, we're not talking about that. You want to change the subject? Oh.
You just brought up Jack Johnson.
No,
I asked you.
I'm telling you about the white people who went crazy like the mob when they lost the fucking fight to the black man.
The unified field theory. Ultimate
Yeah, I'll ask the question.
Jack Johnson for the man act because Jack Johnson was with white women and he was bragging about it.
Listen, my friend, I get it. I'm very versed in Jack Johnson being charged with Man Act, but I was curious because JW brought him up. And I was curious because he beat up a white boxer. Was that the real reason he got charged with Man Act? Not to bring three white women across state lines?
I've never said anything about that, but I said you can ask dumb questions about it.
Divert all remaining power to right off.
Well, then let me just inform you, that's my reputation on the app. I ask some questions.
Well, you lived up to it.
You're crazy.
Ready to go, right arm!
Can I address the title, please?
Well, since you did, please, of course.
This is gonna be good. Well, I think I believe racism is taught in the home and on the street society. You know, America is a white supremacist settler colony, Christian nationalist state, and so white supremacy, racism, anti-blackness is played out in the media. It's played out in the homes of Americans of all races, creeds, and colors, nationalities, social economic status. And so, yeah, racism is, I certainly believe that racism is a learned behavior, although otherism is maybe natural to humans. I believe racism itself is a learned behavior, taught behavior, and a socialized ideology.
Thank you. Rose, how you doing, Rose? Long time no speak.
I know, right? I'm doing good. Just busy on business. How are you doing, JB?
I'm living my best life here in Brooklyn. You still?
I know. We're supposed to be meeting in Brooklyn.
Well, you say when and where, and I'm there, because that pretty smile, but
Absolutely.
I gotta be careful because Rohan will sound loved on. You are a beautiful woman.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Yeah, he called me a beautiful woman as well. So,
Appreciate that. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, so just adding on to the topic, I believe that it's definitely a home-learned situation with racism. Having said that, I was actually raised in Namibia. Well, Namibia.
If it's a girl,
South Africa, where
girl,
apartheid was happening at the time.
call her
And, most of our parents were like, the Germans are coming and the English people are coming, so we need to protect ourselves. So my tribe is Hare in Namibia. And we were actually, pretty much colonized by the Germans, and we had to fight them throughout the war to protect our land. So I don't want to say too much, but I feel like it's a homely thing instead of the streets. I'm just gonna mute my mic, but if anybody else wants to say something, I'm available.
Have you experienced racism here in America?
Of course, yes, I have experienced, and funny enough, it's actually from my own people, the blacks, based on the fact that, I'm from Africa, and, I've never experienced from other nationals or, American citizens or whatsoever, but mainly from my own people. I'm your mama.
I'm Mario, that's Mario.
Is that true?
What was that? Sorry.
Someone made a comment. I think that was you, Sarah. You said black people are the most racist. How dare you say something like that? That's a very ignorant statement.
I'm just honest on my
Hey, I'm listening to Rose.
Sarah.
I'm listening to Rose, and I commented to her, for someone who keeps saying, Sarah, I don't want to be involved in talking to you.
Because you keep making insults.
Everything I write in the chat.
Making insults. That's
You
why
have to make a comment about it. I don't care what you say. That's my
I don't
right.
care either.
You literally said we have slaves in America, and in 1969 we had slaves in America, and you still haven't proved it. So yeah,
I told you to go Google, dummy.
No, I'm not Googling anything. You made a
Well, then don't believe it.
You
Don't
lie.
believe it.
You
Don't believe
lie.
it. Don't believe it. How could you sit up here and say just because they abolished slavery that there still wasn't slavery?
Alright, can we ease up on the black on brown violence? So,
He's not brown.
Okay, so
real life as well. I work in corporate America, and based on the fact that I'm from Africa, I actually experienced more racism with the Black Americans.
Hey, Rosemary. Yeah, let me address that because I hear this all the time with Africans.
Oh, go ahead.
And you know, the thing is, is that here's the reality. It's called othering, right? And you get teased. In the Asian community, they talk about this. They talk about how here in Los Angeles, especially, which has the largest Asian population in the entire United States of America. And you will often hear in the Chinese community when Chinese would come over from China, how Chinese American children would mock them, make fun of their accents, even making fun of their eyes, because often Chinese American kids may have thought they had American eyes, didn't realize you had the same eyes as the Chinese coming up from China, but would mock them because of their eyes. Or if the person had a little white in them and they had kind of almond-shaped eyes, they would make fun of the Chinese kids. The same thing would happen in the Laotian community as well as in the Korean community versus Korean Americans coming over Koreans coming over into Korean Americans communities, Laotians or Japanese Americans coming over into a Chinese American community. The kids would tease them relentlessly and make fun of them. So if you're foreign, if you're different, yes, you're going to find it. That's not racism. That's just othering you.
And not only that, let me add something, because I know your folks, on the kids, okay, well look, kids are just freaking mean in the first place. I mean, hell, in every middle school or junior high across this country, that's just the way, that was just part of life. You were going to get, if you stood out just a little bit, or, you had a peer group, hey, you were going to get a nickname, you were going to get something. So, not like
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Leave mute up, thank you. This beautiful woman, Rose, she's driving, right? And she gets pulled over, and the cop says, license, registration, and she got pulled over because she's black, right? So she turned to the cop and said, no, officer, you're wrong. I'm not black. I'm African. Because my own people won't accept me. So I'm African, I'm not really black. Does that make sense?
I don't think anybody making that argument.
Not really.
Let me tell you something, Rose. I'm half Nigerian and my mom is Black American.
Oh my God.
And I can tell you this: you get stereotyped on both sides. It's not just Black Americans; it's Africans too. Africans put down Black Americans just as well as Black Americans put down Africans.
No, that's not true. Put down Black Americans.
Okay, my God.
Let her finish, bro. Let her finish.
No, but I'm just saying it goes both ways, and I've experienced it because of my dad. He's Nigerian, and my mom's Black American. So, it goes both ways.
No,
Because, sister, the reason why I disagree with you is because Nigerians have derogatory names for Black Americans within their language and culture. Black Americans, we don't create and we don't have derogatory names culturally for Africans. They call Black Americans Akatas, which means like lost path, or inferring we're lost or people have no direction, right? Usually are culturalist people. And then they call us cotton pickers and all kinds of slave babies and all that shit. We don't refer to Africans that way. They run to the African booty scratcher, which is children. But culturally, we use that against each other.
Okay, thank you for that. I want to say hello to MG real quick. What's up, MG?
Hey, JB. How are you?
You're my favorite African on this earth.
Hey, JB, I just want to tell you that you living up to what you said. You asked a dumbass question.
Well, I still don't even know why you're on my stage or in my room, but go ahead, stay only one camera.
I think it's absolutely wild. I'd actually like.
I wanted to respond to Abracadabra.
Yeah, okay. Like, thanks, Noja, really appreciate it. We're going to move it along. You've had a lot of mic time, and there are other people who have just joined the conversation, including Lee, who's been trying to get in. But MG, welcome to the stage. Really lovely to see you, as always. I'd love to be able to hear your contribution to it. I actually wanted to hear Rose, just beforehand. Rose was saying something. I just want to give her the opportunity to be able to maybe reflect upon a few things that have been said. See if you want to be able to add something to the conversation, Rose? No? Okay.
No, I'm fine. So, thank you.
Yeah, cool. MG, and we'll go to Lee.
Yeah, I just wanted to
that was
jump
kind
in
of
really
rude,
quickly.
man. That was
I
kind
just
of
want to jump in really quickly. I get tired of these conversations when you group all Africans. Like, Ethiopians don't have a word for Black people, for the record.
Wait, who's
We
Creed?
don't have a
MG, who's Creed?
Abracadabra
Thank you.
on stage. Creed, we don't have a word for African Americans in Amarinya. We really don't. So you guys group us. You guys group all Africans together. We're not a monolith. And I feel you, Rose. I feel the same way. I'm in shock when I hear Black people. I don't hear this in my real life, but I hear it on the app all the time, and it's stunning to hear the hate, the disgust. Like, I don't have this experience in my real life with Black people, just on this app. So I understand what you're saying. It's incredibly shocking.
I didn't say all Africans. I literally said Nigerians have a derogatory term. I did not say all Africans. There are 54 countries on the continent of Africa, 3,300 ethnic groups. So I didn't say all
You said
Africans.
Africans, and I was in the chat. I was like, Nigeria.
Well, the thing is the thing is I'm just going based on my experience, just being an African. I have
Let me say that Mr. Thompson enjoys the dubious distinction of being a premier bootlegger in Atlantic City, New Jersey. The people on a previous occasion prosecuted Mr. Thompson for solicitation of murder, graft, extortion, and multiple violations of the Volstead Act. We request a fine of $2,000 and a sentence of 1 year in federal penitentiary for probably is
Your Honor, my client is being charged with possessing one pint. Maybe you guys can elaborate
allow this man to
Are
simply
you saying that
I sympathize with
Black
your desire to bring purpose to your life. However, this courtroom is not the place to do it. Next.
No, I did not say that. I say maybe absolutely, but I believe it's just main on the fact that we have gone through a lot as Blacks throughout the world, colonizations or whatsoever, and that's why I made the point clear that even in Southern Africa, where I'm from, that's something that we also went through, and we were taught at home as well to kind of like, be careful with the other nations and protect yourself. So, JW, maybe you can explain as to how you guys were taught.
There's some places in my town I want to go. And I don't give a damn who. I'm not going around this session with you today. We get to a point in our life, you'll get there one day when you just figure it out. Like, hey, you know what? There's good people and there's bad people.
doesn't seem like
And
Barry.
that's that part.
Barry is an extroverted leader. Yes, I am.
Absolutely. And you know, I mingle well with my Black Americans. Not to say from my ex-husband is Black American, my current husband is Black American, so you know, I just feel like maybe we should all educate ourselves with our culture and the way we're raised and what we went through in order to get along.
Let me ask everybody a question. Now, I don't mean to hijack the room, but I just got to ask this. If you needed a kidney transplant, would you prefer to have a black kidney or a white kidney or a Chinese kidney or a Mexican kidney? What would you prefer?
JW.
No.
Wait a second. Well, hold on, bro. You, I don't care if you finish or not, but you accuse me of asking stupid ass questions.
No,
you
okay,
a
that's
dummy.
fine. Well, you gotta wait till I'm done. Wait till I get finished with the question before, okay? Because there's a point to this. You know, I don't say dumb shit for the hell of it. My simple point is, when people realize that under our skin, and I mean, I know people do realize that, but be behind that fucking 8 ball, okay? Be behind that goddamn 8 ball. Then you'll understand this whole fucking thing. That's why I get so
You are
upset
making
about
no
people.
sense. Zero sense.
I know, because you're not able to understand these.
I think he asked a great question, JB, to be honest.
I don't know. He hasn't finished the question. He's talking about underneath.
This guy right here is...
He just talked too much after he said it, but that question was good, JB. It was dumb as hell, but it made a lot of sense. What kind of kidney would you want?
I wouldn't give a fuck as long as I can live. I don't care.
There you go.
Pick both dies.
And that's the point. And that's the point why we shouldn't be racist, right? And that's why it was a great question. I loved it. I loved that he asked it. The brother dumb on a lot of things, but that question, that was nice.
I am not dumb. Shut the fuck up. You pissing.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I meant to say super dumb, not just dumb. Sometimes you're super dumb. I'll be honest with you. I appreciate it.
Like for you to solve.
Thank you for being dumb as hell again. I think.
This solve.
Back to you, JB.
You know what's funny, Mom? You know what's funny, Ken?
Yeah, what's up, bro?
You come off mic and support this guy, and he still has this little for you.
Well, I told you he's dumb, JB. So.
You call me dumb, what's wrong with you people? I bet you don't know a fucking thing. You know what y'all know? Y'all know the fucking internet. Y'all know fucking computers. I bet that's what you
JB,
job.
he's dumb. I wouldn't expect anything less.
Oh my God.
Absolutely fucking nothing.
Do you know what a fucking
But you know,
electron
I'm the anti-Semitic if I say that
fucking
shit.
resistor? You don't know
There's
shit.
zero fucking
That's what I'm trying to tell
obligation
you.
for us to owe Israel anything.
Alright, I moved him down so everybody could breathe all that intelligence in that he was spewing. Let me go to.
You never heard of a toxic relationship before, Pepe?
Man, I'm ready to go to bed now.
Faggot!
Len, how you doing?
It's fine. So I just wanted to address the point of the room, which is I read a really interesting book about this called Face to Face with Race by a guy named Jerry Taylor. He writes for American Renaissance, and he had like 14 stories of like black people who were like perfectly neutral toward black people, and he had the experience of like working with them. Like going to school with them, and their impressions changed for the worse. Right? And so I don't think it's something that you learn at home. I think if a lot of people go into situations and they're neutral, and then they start having enough experience with people, and they build up a dislike. Now you look at the area that we live in here. Okay, we have like this is mentioned about it. We got like a lot of Arabs, we got a lot of Indians, a lot of Chinese. And you see those guys like meeting each other for the first time. You know, like their parents are immigrants and they come here and they meet like an Indian guy, like say a Chinese girl. And they find each other and you see them date each other and partner with each other all the time, even the international students. So the experience that they have with them is like neutral, and then they have an experience and it's positive, and then it's fine. But it just doesn't seem to work that way for like a lot more often for black people. And you come on Clubhouse and you listen to some of these rooms, and it's like, I don't think it's helping the situation. It's not going to help it. So if you had like a neutral white person and they downloaded this Clubhouse app and they happened to cross a room with some Hebrew Israelites, okay, and they just sat and just listened, I don't think that the impression would be positive. Now, you are aware, you just used Jerry Taylor. Jared Taylor is a bona fide white supremacist who the black people are an inferior race. He really believes that white people are an inferior race and that they should be ruled over by the superior race, which are white people. That's Jared Taylor.
Now he writes something called American Renaissance, okay? And his thing is that he's had his fill of interacting with black people and feeling responsible for them, and he's just saying he wants some separation. Now he's not one of the
believes that black people are inferior.
Okay, so what he's talking about is, I've read about this with him, and he's talking about the IQ distribution, and he's willing to concede that Chinese people, Japanese people are higher IQ than what normal white people are. But if he has to concede that, then he's conceding that the average can also differ in the other way, even if he ends up on the wrong side. And honestly, he's not the first one that said this. This has been observed many, many times by
But also believes that black people are inferior, sir. Yes, the IQ thing to use that, but he believes in the innate inferiority of the black race. He says that. He's on the record. I've been following Jerry Taylor for 25 years. I even met him one time. Jerry Taylor is a bona fide white nationalist, white supremacist.
Well, I mean, but do you think that his experience with black people made him such as he is?
No, I think he comes from a generation of white people who use that lie that, I came across black people, I was raped by a black person, and therefore I hate black people. That is an old trope that white Americans enslaved from his generation.
Let's ignore Jerry.
Wait. If you look at the creation of modern suburbia, it's because white people have tried like hell to get the hell away from minorities. So there is some truth to that. A lot of white people develop opinions about black people because of experience.
It's a multitude of experience with social media.
Jack Cassiel wrote a book called Untenable. I just read it here in the last several months, and he was describing the situation. It was somewhere in New York where he grew up. It was I think upstate New York, if I'd have missed my guess. And he was saying that they had a neighborhood there, and it was working class white people, and he's they started to have a lot of black people come there as a result of the Great Migration, and it turned into a cesspit. And he's it's interesting because nobody ever asked these white people why were they leaving. And
I like that. Yeah, that's a lie. And the white suburb was created from the violent Negro. The white suburb was created because
white people have said this time and time again.
No, I don't know what white supremacists have to say. I know research and we research.
Hold on.
Guys, okay, I know I'm speaking. Please mute up, Ken.
Okay, so white people have said this time and time again. Okay, they said this with the 94 crime bill. They tried to hire more police in white neighborhoods. White people left their neighborhoods behind time and time again throughout history and fled to suburbia. That's how we got white flight. So what are you talking about?
Yes, white flight.
Master plan communities in America, okay, were created by white people to get the hell away from minorities.
Yes, because white people believe that they were superior. Not because black people and minorities were innately violent. It's because they seen themselves as superior to those people, and they didn't want to be around them. And they were also afraid. They were also afraid.
Could they perhaps have been indifferent and just got tired of the bullshit?
No, because when you look, hold on, y'all. When you look at black people,
perfect example.
And I understand. Damn. When you look at Tulsa, Oklahoma, as an example, when Tulsa, Oklahoma, wealthy people, and I can show you in New York, the same thing happened in Clydesdale. When wealthy, affluent blacks who were highly educated moved into wealthy white communities, there was huge white flight. Well, why? Well, one of the reasons that they said is, why are we going to allow the Negro to move into our communities? Next thing you know, one of their sons will be dating our daughter. There's an entire study on it from New York Times that was done roughly about 50 years ago, where they went to all these middle class and affluent communities where black people were beginning to move into,
and also they came back post 1970 and did the same thing. And this is what white people were saying, that we don't want to live there because our daughters will be marrying their sons.
But see, the thing is,
I think
we have like wealthy Indians.
that their television would not still be in their living room when they got home. I don't
And
think
that's
it
what
had
Jack
anything to do
Hansen
with their
said.
daughters. I don't think it had anything to do with their
You are
daughters.
poor, and that's your low IQ response because you lack the range to be able to understand the data that was actually done and the research that was done over 50 years of research of this.
But see, that's not all of it. And he's talking about Detroit. Now, that's 2 miles away from where I live right now, okay? And so what you see happen was, okay, they had a city that was the wealthiest city in the United States, okay, and they had like these guys come up from the Great Migration, and it turned into a hellhole. And so all the white people moved out of there. Detroit is like 90.
Okay, this white person needs to speak for 1 second, and then you guys go back to arguing nonsense. Adams, MG, I'm out of here like Batman's underwear. You guys want to keep it open?
Yeah, keep it open, JP. What's up?
All right, I'm out of here. Good night, everybody.
JP, you know what I told? JP, I'll be honest, and we're going to talk about that TikTok shit tomorrow too, JP, I got you. But I told Mojo, until a lot of the original things are handled, the original sins of America are handled, we're going to forever have to have these conversations, JP. I hate to say it, bro.
Hey, hold on, JW, I'm using my white privilege. Can you respect my white privilege, please? Thank you. Thank you, sir. I'm going to wet my ass with it. Kane, I love you like a fat kid loves cake. Adams, be well. MG, my favorite person. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Jay.
Now go ahead, JW, cuss us out.
Buddy. He's okay. Hey, but really, so build on that, because you were saying something that was kind of hitting to the truth right there. You were saying, like, the people who, I keep hearing you say about people who's coming from the South and coming to Detroit or Chicago or everywhere else they went in the Great Migration. But I don't think you're telling the other side of the story.
They were trying to get away from black people.
No, huh? We're talking about the black migration. What are you saying?
They were following the white people that were trying to get away from them. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. White people leave, and then black people follow. That's exactly what happens in America.
Oh my gosh, Dr. Adams. What an insult.
People had to leave the South. They were sharecropping. They were basically still enslaved. Okay?
Yes, correct.
Okay, I just want everybody to read.
There's an area called Jamestown.
Just one book.
Jamestown, Illinois. And they had the whites that were living in Jamestown, Illinois, post 1970. And they had black people who were far more educated, that were far more wealthier in income than the whites that lived in this area. And they renamed that thing Pars Aber or whatever. But these white people said, hey, why are you leaving? Why did you leave the area? Said, hey, the Negroes are moving in. Said, well, these Negroes are way more educated, have more money than you guys. They're moving into this area because they can get a better house, more land than they could in the town center area. They said, yeah, well, we don't want to live amongst them because next thing you know, our daughters will be bringing their sons home. So this had nothing to do with like poor blacks moving into uneducated poor blacks moving into a working class or a middle class white community, and they had to run because they were bringing their violence and degeneracy. These were educated. Many times these were educated African black people moving into the area.
Hold on a second. Hey, yo, God, how are we gonna talk at the same time? We have an audience, please. Please, let's respect the audience and let's get some decorum, man. Who want to jump in there? Go ahead, Tom.
Tell your co-mod to stop talking to those people that racist ass spoon shit, though. Like, he's antagonizing the conversation, not letting it go anywhere.
How am I antagonizing the conversation? I'm simply pointing out that white people leave certain places when black people move in. Then when the white people leave, the black people tear up the freaking neighborhood. So now the white people are gone. Why is the neighborhood torn to shit? Maybe that's why they left.
Everything isn't like Compton, Dr. Adams.
I'll be moving out of this neighborhood. Now, how about that? You just don't want to be around people that you're uncomfortable with. And that's whether you're black or white. If a bunch of raggedy ass black people came living next door to me, I would be fucking moving. That's just life. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, here's what happened. I'll give you an example. Howard Stern tells this story, right? The neighborhood that he grew up in, it was predominantly a white Jewish community. And when black people began to move in, he noticed that the whites began to move out, right? See, he said they were racist. However, what ended up happening was you had developers that are investors that came in. They started to buy, non-black investors, they started to buy up all the houses for cheap because black people were moving in. The speculators came in and devalued the property. Real estate speculators came in and devalued the property. That allowed for investors to come in, buy up the houses, and then rent them out for cheap to poor black people. Rent them out for premium to poor black people, gouge poor black people, but not actually fix up the property. So now they become slum landlords. And then what ends up happening is that the city shifts the resources, right? The city resources from that community, and they shift them to white communities. So they start fixing up the streets, they start fixing street signs, they allow potholes to arise. City services become dilapidated, trash is late, so trash picks up over a course of weeks, and it becomes a bona fide slum. And this is what he witnessed, because when his parents moved to the area, it was a predominantly white Jewish area, and it was pristine, clean, all of that. But as soon as they did what they did by buying up the homes and then renting them out and not taking care of the property, and then devaluing the property, and then city services then is essentially cut off from that community, over time it turns into a slum.
Well, or maybe the city got tired of putting good money after bad. Why am I going to allocate funds? No, but why am I going to allocate funds over to a
Hey, yo, abracadabra, please let Dr. Adams... Hold on one second, y'all. Because the thing is, if he's so wrong, why not let him finish? I'm led to believe that what he's saying has validity because you're triggered. He lets you speak, and every time he begins to speak, you talk over him. So if he's wrong, let him be wrong. The truth will be there when he gets back. Dr. Adams, please.
So why should the city continue to throw money into districts, good money after bad? If you have certain districts that are occupied by certain groups of people that are tearing that motherfucker up, okay? The city puts a bench, then somebody's knuckleheaded teenager comes behind it with a spray can and freaking graffitis it. Okay, this is the type of shit that people don't listen to, where city starts looking at their expenditure regardless of who lives there and says, hey, it's a useless cost. You keep dumping money into a place that the people who live there treat like a dump.
Let me ask you a question, Dr. Adams. Have you heard of the black tax? So the black tax is essentially the mechanisms around the black taxes, where, as an example, when black people, wealthy black people, would move into a suburb with middle or upper middle class whites, and then whites would flee, city services were cut off from that community. So now black Americans are forced to pay their property tax, to which their property tax dollars are being diverted to white neighborhoods and white communities. And then black people are forced to raise money collectively in terms of their community to pay for city services, like fixing up the roads, payment of the roads, fixing light fixtures, fixing the stoplights and things like that, because city services have cut off because the city council members don't see black people as human, and so therefore they don't see the need to fix the roads and help maintain that community by using the property tax dollars that those people are paying. And in fact, they're so racist, they take those black dollars and they divert those black property tax dollars to white neighborhoods. They don't fix the schools, so then black people are forced to either fix the schools themselves or put their kids in private school. So you had situations where you had communities that were 96% black, mostly affluent, and blacks, and then you had like 92% or 94% of the people in the community sending their kids to private school because the city stopped paying and investing in the public schools in that community. And then what they do is they bust kids into those communities from poor neighborhoods, and the kids in those poor neighborhoods get to go to those schools, and then those schools get a reputation for being a school for ghetto kids, which greater runs down the property value in this affluent black neighborhood.
Well, which is why the white people who live around those private schools and the public schools that those black kids are bused to, those white people are slowly starting to move again. So let's see what happens in another 25 years.
This has been going on for 50 years.
Yo, chill, man. Yo, Adams, man, why you letting this guy off the hook so easy, man? Why aren't we talking about the Democrats, being against school choice? The same shit that he's crying about. Why aren't we talking about the Democrats being against school choice? Why aren't we talking about the fact that these Democratic-run cities are shitholes with like single digit, literacy rates and shit like that? Fucking Chicago, every public office of consequence is held by a black person. And let's look what the fuck is going on out there. The shit it's really, Lightfoot before this current mayor, fiasco after fucking fiasco. The shit is and then, of course it's going to be, let's blame the white man. Everything's the white man's fault. America's racist as fuck, but we're going to depend on the racist America to teach our kids. This shit is just dumb, man. It's embarrassing.
Anthony is not FBA for the record. He is not.
He's not FBA for the record. He's not FBA. He was born in America. He only identifies as a black man. If he gets pulled over, I don't have my non-FBA card to show them. I'm not like